I've just been outside. It's a little bit chilly. And you know what happens when it's chilly? You put on some warm clothes. For a lot of people in damp houses, that's not an option. This morning, we're having a chat to the CEO of the Middlemore Foundation, Margie Malsop, who's behind Jammies for June, a wonderful initiative for our lovely, beautiful kids who aren't warm during winter. And she joins us this morning. Good morning, Margie.
Kia ora. Good
Kia
morning.
ora. Thanks for joining us again this morning.
Thank
You're
you.
part of the Middlemore Foundation. I don't know who they are. And you're the CEO, actually. You're the big cheese. So who are you? What are you doing?
So the Middlemore Foundation has actually been around for 20 years, and we were formed initially to help the hospital build Kids First Hospital. So if you've been to Middlemore, there is this absolutely amazing facility for our tamariki to be looked after in their own space, so they don't have to kind of just be tacked on to an adult patient's ward or whatever. So, and subsequent to that, we then we remain and we support the hospital in any way that we can that the government doesn't support. So anything that the government is unable to fund through their various budget allocations, they come to the foundation and ask us if we can help for that. So it could be a program initiative that might help with health promotion around things like rheumatic fever, or it might be a piece of equipment that will make things easier for the doctors and the patients, but didn't make the budget list. So we help them. We also, though, are a wee bit different from other hospital foundations in that we do a lot of work in the community in South Auckland to look at the upstream determinants of health. You know, what makes a child or a person end up in hospital, and is there something that we can do to ensure that that doesn't, necessarily end up with a hospital visit? So we support school nursing programs, we support tamariki youth programs, and we do a whole bunch of things like that. And Jammies is one of those things where we support both the hospital and the community.
Right. So what are the conditions that cause children to end up in hospital? Is it the coldness in the winter?
Yeah, it's not great, unfortunately, for people who are living on the breadline, not even above the breadline. We don't, the amount of children that turn up to Kids First with respiratory illnesses of some sort, rheumatic fever, it's a blight on our society. And I think that we should be ashamed that we have children turning up to hospital in the large numbers that they are, purely because they're living in cold, damp houses. They can't afford to heat their houses. They can't afford to move to a home that might be warmer. And, they unfortunately, they keep coming back. So once you've often got a respiratory illness, then this child will be seen often again and again. So, and respiratory illness is something that happens to anybody. I mean, it can be just a mild winter flu, but more often than not, if you are living in those conditions, it will be worse than what it should be.
Yeah, and it impacts the most vulnerable in our society, those who are, as you put it, I mean, cost of living crisis doesn't help,
No.
with anybody. Have you seen the numbers decrease in terms of the kids coming in, or are they increasing?
Well, COVID had also had a little bit to play in all of that, because obviously viruses, as this is I'm speaking on behalf of our clinical director, but viruses will always find a way. And so when there was that kind of lockdown and people weren't mixing in the same way, then there was that was a kind of a breeding ground for other viruses to come in. So RSV is one that's come in back again in larger numbers. No one's really sure why we're seeing so much respiratory illness again this winter, but COVID and the cost of living crisis are two reasons that people are thinking is the reason why.
Well, we haven't even really got stuck into winter, really.
No.
It's we're just scratching the surface, and it is chilly out there throughout all the country. Let's segue nicely into this great initiative that you got going on for June, Jammies in June. Where's that brainchild come from, and how long has this been around for?
So it's been around for 12 years. It is something that the Middlemore Foundation had brainstormed and has been working on for all that time. And it's because of the amount of children that have always end up at Kids First Hospital in particular with respiratory illness, and that's where it came from. It's like, there's so many things. There's only so little things that people feel as though they can do. But being able to put on a warm pair of jammies and have a reasonably warm night's sleep is something that everybody can contribute to. And so that's what Jammies is intended to be able to do. Because I think there are a lot of people who go, it's so hard, I can't heat a person's house, but you can heat a child, So that's where we try to work from, I guess. And then there's a lot of other people doing a lot of other things to ensure that houses do get warmer, that people can afford to heat their houses. But this one little thing does make a difference. Our clinical director at Kids First is very clear that a child going to bed cold will exacerbate a respiratory illness. If that child can go to bed with a warm pair of jammies, that does make a difference.
How many children are you aiming to help this month?
Well, we wanted to raise enough money or get enough jammies for 15,000 children in South Auckland to be able to get those jammies. And we distribute those jammies through Kids First Hospital for every child and their siblings that turn up there. We also distribute them through Kids First Community. So those are children who are living with a disability or an illness in our community. And then we distribute them through a fantastic initiative, Mana Kids, which is the school's nursing program. So we try to get them out to as many children in primary schools in South Auckland that we can.
It's such a great initiative, but it's sad at the same time when you're talking about the amount of pajamas that have come through. That's the amount of kids that don't have access to warm heating. But let's focus on the positives. The impact of a pair of pajamas must be, you touched on it, really great for a lot of families. Are there any personal stories that people have or families have shared with you?
Oh, so many really, and some of them just touch your heart. Like we have kids who when Dame Valerie Adams, who's one of our ambassadors, came in the other day, she gave a pair of jammies to a little 5-year-old girl who was just beside herself that Dame Valerie had given her the jammies, but she was also beside herself because it was the first pair of new pajamas that she'd ever had in her life. So that's the this is the reality of our of where we are right now. So I think it's that understanding that a pair of jammies is given with love and received with love is such it's such a small gesture, and that people think, it doesn't really make much of a difference. But for that child who receives a gift from someone they have no idea who gave that pair of jammies to, is such an amazing thing for that child to be able to receive and thoroughly loves, and the parents love it as well.
That's awesome. All right, how can people help out? How do they give a pair of jammies if they want to give jammies?
So there's 3 ways that they can do it. They can go onto our website, which is jammiesforjune.org.nz, and they can. We've got this cool washing line, and people can buy a pair of jammies and to put on the washing line, and so that's just a straight donation. They can also buy jammies at Postie Plus or the Warehouse or any of those places and send them to Middlemore Foundation, we're situated in Middlemore Hospital. Another thing that a lot of people are doing is like getting together with their church groups, their school groups, their work groups, and just doing a little bit of fundraising, having a bit of fun, and then just building a collection box, and then that comes into us as well.
Have we mentioned what your target is for June?
15,000. 15,000 kids. Yeah, it was 10. Yeah, it was 10,000 last year. We managed to get that just over, and Dame Valerie was like, let's go higher.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, where are you at right now on the 5th of June?
So we've got about 8, just hitting 8,000. So we've still got a little bit to go. So let's do it.
It's promising.
Yeah, it is.
Again, if you want to contribute, jump into jammiesforjune.org.nz. What's that other website did you mention there, Margie?
You can do it through the Middlemore Foundation.
Yeah, we appreciate you. Continue to put smiles on these beautiful, lovely kids of ours. That's Margie Malsop, who is the CEO of the Middlemore Foundation. More info on Jammies for June. Look them up.